Just no mother-in-law stories. Mother-in-law's neglect killed my child. Now she thinks I'll let her around my second child. Sorry this is so long. My Mill was guilty in the death of her grandchild, my daughter. She was 2 years old at the time and my husband and me. We let Mill babysit her while we were busy with job-related things. It was summertime and they were staying in Mill's house that has a pond next to it. My daughter loved water. Bath time was her favorite time of day. They were playing at the edge of the pond and then Mill remembered she had to take clothes out of the dryer and she left her 2-year-old alone next to the quite large body of water. My daughter's childlike curiosity plus her love for water resulted in her getting into the deep part of the pond and drowning. All because Mill considered clothes in the dryer an important enough reason to leave a toddler unsupervised. Then she realized what has happened. She started to panic and call for help. Her neighbor heard her. They got into the pond and called an ambulance but it was too late. Imagine what it's like for a parent to come to the person you trusted your child with and they tell you your child is dead. And Mill was begging us not to involve police into this. She kept repeating it was an accident and she doesn't know how it could have happened. Was only gone for a moment. Feels even worse than we do and calling the police won't bring her back. We did call the police, of course, and she was charged with criminal negligence and sentenced to 3 years in prison which, in my opinion, was too light of a punishment. Now recently Mill was released from prison and my husband was the first person she looked for contact with. He never once visited Mill while she was imprisoned, unintentionally but she did cause the death of our child by neglecting her duties as a babysitter. Doesn't matter that she served her sentence. Neither I or my husband will ever forgive her for this. Neither has she asked for forgiveness. All she gave us were excuses and more excuses. In the courtroom, my husband told her she's not his mother anymore, that she's dead to him and that he never wants to see her face again. Our marriage was damaged too. We were depressed. We fought a lot. There were times when we were on the brink of divorce. We separated for a while. I left for another country thinking that this is it for us. However, my husband came to look for me and we managed to save our family and continue our life together. I couldn't bring myself to have any more children for a long time but eventually, I got pregnant again and last summer we welcomed our son. He's 9 months old now. Obviously, we weren't going to tell Mill we're parents again but she saw us walking with a baby stroller and realized that once more she has a grandchild. So she tried to get in the contact with my husband. First, she reproached him for not visiting her, cried about how hard it was for her to spend all those years behind bars, that she shouldn't have been in the prison because she's too old for that. How could he do this to his own mother? How could he abandon her? Then she was like, but I saw you have a new baby. I'm so glad I have a grandchild again, and then she went on about is it a boy or a girl? When will she be able to see them and meet them because she wants to take care of them so much? My husband told her immediately that she doesn't have anything. This is our child, ours only. Our son doesn't have a grandmother. We'll be telling him this as he grows up. And he will never ever in a million years be anywhere around her. We're 100% on the same page about this. The loss of our daughter still hurts and we're going to do the impossible to protect our son from her. He doesn't need an irresponsible grandmother who would likely endanger his life just like she did with his sister. Mill was shocked to hear this and began to wail about us being so evil and cruel towards her. That we're going to hold that against her forever even though she paid for it and we cannot be so heartless to prevent her from seeing her grandchild. But what was she thinking? What was she hoping for? That we're really going to let her around our baby? That we'll ever trust her with babysitting again? Honestly, I'm not sure if I can leave my son with any babysitter. I don't trust babysitters anymore. Because if a grandmother can be careless enough to let a child die, who knows what could an unrelated person do? So my husband told her firmly that she'll have no access to the baby and he doesn't want to talk to her either, so now that she's out of the prison, she should do something useful with her life and leave us alone. Mill wasn't having it. That evening she came to our house, asking to see her grandchild again. We didn't let her come in, obviously, and Mill got mad, claiming that as a grandmother, she has rights to meet her grandchild. We told her that she lost all her rights to our children when she let our daughter drown. If a trust is broken, it cannot be repaired and there are some things that just cannot be forgiven. Mill then told us that she'll go to court and she'll demand legal permission to meet the baby. I'm not sure if there is such a thing, but if it's true, I highly doubt she'll get it considering her criminal record. If we need to go to court and prove she's not the type of grandmother you should let around your child, we'll do it. If she comes back again, we'll call the police. If we need to leave this country and go live somewhere else just to be away from her, we'll do it too. Nothing's impossible. I'm amazed at the shamelessness of hers. She knows very well she tore apart our lives 3 years ago. No parent should bury their child, but we had to because of her, and now she comes to us as if she's the best relative ever, as if nothing ever happened. Thanksgiving dilemma involving religious fanatic mother-in-law. It's been a while since I've needed help dealing with Melancholy Millicent, a rather fanatical evangelical whose hobby is cramming her religion down other people's throats. But I digress. We're now 9 years out and the death of Phil, and Mill shows no signs of stopping her tradition of turning grace before meals, required at Millicent's house, into yet another eulogy for Phil pity party for herself, complete with dramatic tears. Followed by an abrupt shut-off of the waterworks as she launches into prayers, aka poo talking, about the family member she currently disapproves of. Asking for wisdom or guidance so that person can overcome their many failings. All the eye rolls this year. Millicent is coming to our place for Thanksgiving, and we don't say grace before meals. We're pagans, and while we aspire to always live our gratitude for the gifts of Mother Earth, we choose to express that in other ways. Needless to say, we will not be inviting Millicent to say grace. But last time she came to our place she made a crappy comment about our irreverence when we didn't say grace. And that pissed me off, because we'd been cooking and cleaning for days and I was insulted. I'd like to prevent awkwardness, or at least handle it, shut it down when it occurs. And that's where I need advice. We're not going to uninvite her. That would be an overreaction. Or try to lay down the law ahead of time. Because that would be awkward and Mill will find a way to harp on it, passive aggressively, forever and ever, world without end. Amen. I did briefly entertain the idea of avoiding drama by saying my own non-denominational grace before meals. Google has a lot of them. But then it occurred to me that such a gesture might lead Millicent to believe that I am now interested in coming to church with her. Hell to the no. Or that she might be able to rope me into saying grace at other meals. Also not interested. So, back to plan A. Ignore any shitty comments and continue to stuff our faces. I'm going to pre-party and try to be a little stoned by the time she gets here, as this helps dull the effects of Millicent's antics. But I'd welcome any suggestions for things to say if she starts trying to stir up drama. Please keep in mind that Millicent is not actually evil, just passive aggressive and needy. Thanks in advance for your suggestions. Update. Thanksgiving dilemma involving religious fanatic Mill. I'm calling it a win. To get around the grace before meals thing, I might have slightly on purpose messed up the timing of meal prep so that I had to be in the kitchen getting the gravy ready during the soup course. Oops. But the house is open plan, so I was technically still in the room. She starts gearing up to pray. Oh. So much to be thankful for, and basically prompting us to invite her to say grace. Instead I say, I know. And I'll tell you one thing I'm super thankful for, and that's the farmers around the corner. They grew the squash we're eating, and raised the turkey, and the eggs in the cake come from their chickens. Now, here's a garnish for the soup. Passing pumpkin seeds. Then I turned on my heel and headed back into the kitchen. Please eat up. I don't want it to get cold while I do the gravy. And that was that. Food was enjoyed with gratitude and no eulogies were said. And most importantly, no Moreau sweeping on a feast day. Of course, Melancholy Millicent's favorite topic of conversation, dead people, whether family members or celebrities, had to be diverted a few times, but at least there was no Fox News fueled political trolling. We kept her wine glass full and she went with the flow, then passed out during the post-meal screening of Ice Age. Best Thanksgiving we could have expected. Now all we have to do is get through Christmas Eve. LOL. Mother-in-law's mad because I didn't want a pet she got me without asking if I wanted it. Normally I wouldn't consider my Mill JUSTNO. We're not very close and we're not friends, but we have a normal Mill and Dill relationship. However, this time she did something and I'm not really sure is it my fault or hers. I'm married to a Navy man and, as this profession requires, he is often gone from weeks to months. First I thought it'll be very difficult for me to live such a long time without him, but it's really not. I sure miss him, but I spend this time on myself and my friends. I don't work a full-time job right now, but I take various classes and courses, learning new things, and my days are quite busy. Different activities keep me occupied mentally and physically. Now my husband is away at sea and he won't be back until mid-September. We have no children, so I'm home alone most of the time. Sometimes Mill comes to visit and she always says something like, "You must feel so alone in this house. No one to keep you company, not a soul in here. Must be scary too when the night comes." I usually answer that I'm fine and feel good. Yesterday Mill came to visit again and she had brought a dog with her. When I asked what's happening, she was like, "Look what I got you. Isn't he amazing?" I was confused at first. "What do you mean? You got it for me?" I have never expressed a desire for a pet. I don't want any pets. Honestly, I'm a bit scared of animals, and I mean all animals. It's not a phobia. I don't scream and run away, but I feel a bit uneasy next to an animal. I don't mean to say I don't like animals. I do. They're beautiful. I just don't want to own one, and I don't want an animal in my house. Mill said now you won't have to be alone anymore. And you won't have to sit at home all the time. You will have to take him for walks and be much more active. I explained to her that I don't mind being home alone. In fact, I like it. I have never wanted a pet, not even when I was a child. She visits me sometimes and decides that I'm sitting at home all the time when I'm not. I have things to do. I'm not bored at all. Mill was like, "What do you mean you're busy? You're not working. You don't have kids and your husband is away. What can you be busy with?" She thinks that just because I don't work full-time job now, all I do is sit on the sofa eating bonbons. My days are planned with various activities, many of which include sports, so I'm active enough. That's why I told Mill that I appreciate the fact that she thought of me, but unfortunately, she'll have to take the dog away from here. She was like, "Well, that's impossible. Where am I supposed to put him now?" "I don't know, Mill. Keep him yourself or take him back where you took him from. It's really not my problem." Then she was like, "You know, I'm going to leave him here today and come back tomorrow. I guarantee tomorrow you won't want to give him away anymore." I said, "No, Mill, you're leaving today and the dog's leaving with you. Otherwise, I'm going to call an animal shelter or something, but he's not staying in my house." She didn't like to hear that and got visibly annoyed. She was like, "What's wrong with you? How can you not want a pet? Everyone would jump to their ceiling from happiness if a dog was gifted to them. What's your problem?" Well, imagine this, Mill. Not everyone wants pets. Just like not everyone wants children, boyfriend or girlfriend, wife or husband. People are different with different likes and dislikes. I'm not saying anything bad about the dog. It was a beautiful dog. But I'd rather see him outside my premises. It's not his fault that some inconsiderate lady took him somewhere without even finding out if he's welcome there. So Mill took a great offense because I didn't appreciate her effort of giving me a dog. She left and took the dog with her, and later that evening my husband called me. We don't call each other often, mostly because he's very busy and I know that unless it's something serious, I shouldn't bother him. So when he called me, I got scared that something has happened to him, but actually he wanted me to tell him what happened between me and Mill. She had called him and told him I was being rude to her and we had an argument. She really just called my husband and pulled him away from his job to complain about such a small thing. What was he supposed to do for her? He's so far away now and she's calling him to whine that her dill didn't want her gift. I told him what happened and he was like, "Oh okay." I thought I was something way more serious. Honestly, I understand that she probably meant it good and she didn't want anything bad. I didn't say anything rude to her and I didn't mean to offend her, but you don't just gift someone a pet when you don't know if they want them. It's not like giving someone a bouquet of flowers. It's a living creature that needs care, time and attention. So instead of causing a lot of inconvenience and misunderstandings, why not just ask beforehand? A simple "Do you want a pet?" would have helped to avoid this entire situation. Petting Zoo asks about my bra size. I've decided on the nickname Petting Zoo for my JN grandma. Hopefully this nickname hasn't been used yet. She is very touchy-feely and sometimes she takes it way too far. See my last post about when she petted me in my sleep. This reminded me of something that happened when I was about 10 years old. I was at a kid's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. I had just started to wear a training bra. During the party, Petting Zoo came to hug me. While she was hugging me, her hand touched my bra and she started rubbing my back to feel around for my bra. The only reason why I remember this story 13 plus years later is because it made me feel so uncomfortable. But I was young so I didn't say anything. Later on, she asked my mom what size I am. She gestured around her chest to indicate she was asking about my bra size. My mom ignored this and told her my t-shirt size and asked her if she wanted to buy me a new shirt. Petting Zoo shut up after that.